Good day, and welcome to the Budding Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Randy Bridges. In each episode, I cover my experiences, both good and bad, of being a business builder, as well as my journey through the crazy world of entrepreneurship to reach my goal of earning $10 million a year. All right. We are on episode 140 of the podcast. This is March the 21st of 2024. That puts us in the third week. We are getting ready to wrap up this particular quarter as well as a month. And so today's topic is going to be really kind of nice. We're going to start looking forward a bit as we head into the next quarter. Jumping right into our main section here, the books, The Power of Discipline by Daniel Walter. This is an awesome book. I love this book. It has already changed my concept of what discipline is and how to think about it. And that's important because if you can think about something in a particular way and then get an associative way of working with it, then that's a good combination to have. Selling You by Napoleon Hill. I haven't dug into this one yet because The Power of Discipline has been so powerful, and I'll talk about another resource in a few minutes, but this one is a good book as well. Got a lot of very good reviews on it. And finally, Objections by Jeb Blunt. This one I am using in a kind of a stair-step fashion now. I've completed the book, but now I'm going back and looking at different sections according to what I need in doing the sales for my business. One of the other books that I wanted to introduce to you, this isn't on my regular list, so this is a listener kind of a freebie. Michael Walker, he is associated with The Wealthy Consultant. He is great in customer care, customer service, and he wrote a book called Exceptional Experience, Creating a Business Your Customers Will Love. Now, this is relevant to where we're heading next quarter, but I wanted to kind of read some of the chapters that he has here. Chapter 1, an introduction to client services, what it is and what it isn't, right? We need to understand both sides of that. Chapter 3 is engineering happiness, creating an exceptional experience. I don't know about you, but I've lost clients in the past, partly because my client service has not been up to snuff. Whatever reason it was, whatever, part of it was burnout a couple of times. You know, I was getting to a burnout phase. I was growing very quickly, and it was not a healthy thing. I had to let the people go because they were going anyway, and then I turned around and started putting my thoughts towards customer service and customer care back into it, and, started making everybody happier, and there was no real attrition in my business from then on. Chapter number 5 is Unlocking Loyalty, Client Retention Frameworks, and this is going to be good for all of us to keep in mind because it's a lot less expensive to keep a client than it is to try to find a new one. So we want to unlock that loyalty. He goes in and has a chapter on training and development for mastering customer service. He has some additional resources and review, and then he goes through the resources at the end of the book. So this is it's not an expensive read. You can get it on Amazon for Kindle for, I think, 99 cents. It's really a great resource to have in your pocket. Mike is a great guy. He deals with the whole customer care part of things for The Wealthy Consultant. And I mean, the guy is on the money. So if you want a great resource to grab that. Once again, it's Michael Walker. You might see him as Michael G. Walker. And the title is Exceptional Experience, Creating a Business Your Customers Will Love. Okay? This is going to really help anybody who has customer service concerns, customer service issues, or even if your customer service is good and you just want to get better. Okay? Our quote for the week, right along with Michael Walker, is Taylor Welch. Problems are the currency of growth. Okay? And it's related to something that his father said, and I have a little post-it note up here. Problems are the tuition you pay for the lessons you learn. And it's a great reminder that we are buying our experience. We are buying the things that we're learning. And we'll be able to ideally turn that into experience that we can then provide to others and help them out. Now, moving into business strategies, this is going to be a little longer form today. I'm going to talk a little bit about this. We're wrapping up first principles. And we've talked in the past couple of weeks about how first principles can be applied within a business. I've given a couple of different examples. One of them is a coffee shop, and the other one is this gives us the ability to really take a look at how our thinking works, right? And if you're not familiar with first principles, if this is your first podcast you dug into, don't worry. Listen to the other podcasts from this month where we break it down and explore how it can revolutionize your approach to problem solving, especially if you are in a service-oriented business. For the wrap-up, there is nothing that is just 100% good. First principles have a great place, but let's talk about the elephant in the room. When you start putting any kind of a new strategy in place, there are challenges and considerations, especially when applying first principles thinking. I mean, it sounds great in theory, and it's awesome because it's very simplified. It's a creative process, but it can be daunting because it's a creative process. If you're more of a person who thinks in terms of black and white, or you are looking at putting boundaries on both ends of something, first principles thinking can be very daunting. It can be way too much for you. You want to understand that you're creating a mindset and not necessarily a practice. It's a strategy, and strategies always start with mindset changes. So one of the challenges you're going to get is resistance from your team. It's just going to happen. They're going to be overwhelmed, especially if you've got a complex industry. I work with law firms, super complex. I also work with finance and taxes, massively complex. So when you're working with your team, there's going to have to be a bit of perseverance and strategic thinking on how to navigate the challenges with your team. You're going to need a team to do these kinds of things. You can't just stop and think about it and just say, well, I'm going to do something better. That's where companies like mine come in, is for the people that do understand the bigger picture. You need that bounce back board, if you will. You want the rebounding part of it to give you perspective on what you're looking at and maybe come up with some new ideas. That's really where it becomes something of a challenge. If you're a loner, if you're a do-it-yourselfer, it might be unfamiliar, especially when you start having challenges like your team coming back going, this doesn't work. And it's like, it works, but as long as we're using the same thinking, what got you here won't get you there, right? Great title. If we look at some actionable insights, there are some core problems that you're going to have to get down to. It's an exciting part, but I encourage each and every one of you to embrace the thinking in pretty much everything you do, not just one area of your business. Don't just focus on one. Start looking at a divergent view of your business. We tend to look in a myopic way at how we see things. We take the macro and make it micro, and that's good for certain things. But especially in first principles thinking, you want to get to core assumptions, and you want to build your solutions, whatever you're doing, literally from scratch. If you can do it in parallel, that's awesome. But that also means you have to be able to maintain the status quo of what you're doing in your business, in your practice, in your firm. to keep things going. And I usually recommend when you do this, you actually break out your own team into a core team and then a keep the lights on team. You want to take a few people who really understand and have a bigger mindset of what's happening in the business. They are probably the more experienced people. And you peel them out and you have them start working on the new process while the rest of the people continue moving on doing what they do. Then as the core people begin developing and testing and trying, they build up a process knowing full well what the old process is. And so they get a chance to kind of think about it from how will we integrate that back into everybody else. And that's one of the things that comes up most often as a little bit of a challenge, but also, an actionable thing, is that you have to have cross-training. You have to have the ability for the people that are keeping the lights on to understand how to dovetail what is new with what is old and decide what you're going to keep and what you're going to let go of. That's really a good strategy. And then they all come back together and continue focusing as one team. Now, the fundamental truth of any problem, that's where you always start. And you want to challenge any assumptions. That's why we have to peel this apart from what's keeping us going. Don't make the mistake I made the first time I did this, which is dump a big part of it thinking that what's going forward is going to be the only way to go. I was leaving break fix behind, and I allowed other people to do break fix, and I lost a lot of money because I lost clients who simply didn't get the mindset. So you have to be able to balance these two, and you want to find unconventional solutions, right? You want to think outside the box. Don't be afraid to think outside, but just make sure you keep the lights running on the business you have. Don't integrate something that you just leave everything else alone. Another area that you're going to run into is measuring success. You have to track everything. You're building up a new process. You're building up a new system. If you're not tracking what works and what doesn't work, you're not going to truly understand how to rebuild this, especially if you're going to have to integrate it in or replace parts of your current business with this new concept. I wasn't doing tracking. That was part of my problem when I rolled to managed services. Is I simply said, this is the way we're going. And my clients went, can you give me some evidence that this is a better way? And I didn't have any evidence to provide them. So again, without the tracking, without the process and an understanding of what are the problems that are going to come with it, because every solution introduces new problems, this is something that could create some problems for you. Another area of first principles that is a little unfamiliar for people is continuous learning. You have to learn in cycles. If you're not learning in cycles, you're not going to be able to improve in a uniform way. You're going to get hops and skips and jumps instead of having a smooth learning to a plateau. It's better to do that and bring people along with you than it is to introduce a tremendous amount of flux in what's happening in the practice or the business. And you're creating erratic things and people are like, man, I just don't understand that. Start building continuous cycles for learning in order to go through and do all this. And finally, the last piece of first principles that I want you to kind of consider is iteration. Never build something once. Build and test, right? This is where it's similar to Agile, is you want to build and test. You want to essentially create a flywheel with a series of feedback loops to give you information on how to move forward. as you introduce your learning, as you introduce your solutions, as you introduce all these other pieces, recognize that creating a flywheel is better than pretty much any other system these days, because it gives you that feedback you need, and it gives you a clear understanding of how you can move forward in a cyclical manner. Most businesses, when they're introducing first principles, agile frameworks, and sequence chains, they're not clear on how you can use them. So in creating a flywheel, you want to be able to move projects and pieces and people into different areas. And the only way that happens is to really understand the flywheel of your business. There's no funnels anymore. They exist. They've been around for a long time. But marketing as a whole can't rely on a single technology. Funnels are great, but everybody knows what they are now. They know what to expect. So when you put up a video for them to watch, they ignore it, because what they've learned is those videos are simply a sales tool. That's not necessarily a great thing. So creating a flywheel is the ability to have things iterate and roll through again and again and again. And if you can break your business down into a series of flywheels, you're even better, because then your billing won't impact as much of customer service, for example, or onboarding won't be impacted as much because of billing, or your general processes every day and your management decisions won't be impacted as much by negative feedback coming through your customer service side of the business. This is the final wrap up on first principles, and I hope it's been very helpful for you. I want to start looking ahead a little bit. I came up with 10 business strategies that service-based businesses in particular can use, and we're going to be heading into 3 parts of them, and it'll work right along with that customer service concept. I haven't decided on the order of anything yet, but there's going to be 3 of them, and I'm leaning towards customer journey mapping as the first one. I built a complete end-to-end map of how my clients go from being prospects into being successful clients at the end. We want to understand and optimize the customer journey so that we identify and eliminate as many pain points as we can. We improve the interactions and ultimately drive loyalty and satisfaction. This is key when you've got a new client or you've got a new customer. Giving them here's the roadmap of how your program is going to last. You decide upon the time frame. That's a great thing, because now they get to see a bigger picture of the world that they've walked into. You don't do it too early and you don't do it too late. Many times during your onboarding, that is what they're learning is these things like, where's the big picture? We're going to look into different pricing categories as another aspect of essentially customer service and customer sales. We're going to look at different pricing models that are going to be useful to you. And finally, outsourcing and partnerships. This is the reverse of customer service. This is using other companies to accelerate the way you deliver your products and services. That is something that we're going to dig into. We're going to look at the benefits, the core functions, how to form strategic partnerships, because remember, with strategic partnerships, not only are you able to outsource a part of things, you also, if you do it right, have access to the other side, the clients of your partner or the customers of your partner. And if you work in an iterative fashion back and forth in truly a handshake, hand-in-glove concept, you're going to find that you complement each other's internal capabilities. It allows you to expand your service offerings and drive competitive advantage through the roof. Okay? So, for next quarter, customer journey mapping, value-based pricing, and outsourcing and partnerships are going to be our topics. So for the budding entrepreneur, this is Randy Bridges wishing you the best in your health, your wealth, your business, your family, everything about you. Take care. We'll be back next week with a brand new topic rolling right into the second quarter. Thanks so much.